My name is Katie Yates, and this is the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife's podcast, Fishing Game Changers. It's August 2020, and this roller coaster of a summer is wrapping up with a heat wave. A heat wave with cloudless skies and breezeless days that I've watched from the window in my makeshift home office/recording studio. I've observed the dog days of summer fade from behind my computer screen, enviously watching others explore our evergreen state through the magic of social media. Paddling, hiking, exploring, I'm living vicariously through the people who tag the department's social media to share intoxicating photos of their outdoor adventures. If you follow the department on social media or click around our website, you've likely encountered engaging blog posts, interesting facts, important updates, and beautiful photos. There's a whole team of people behind this great output and one endlessly energetic gatekeeper. Everyone, I would like for you to meet Courtney.
Challenging than expected. I was like, oh, this is going to be fun.
It is fun. It'll be
okay. Sorry. Hi, I'm Courtney Moulton. I'm the Media and Graphics Supervisor for the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. I joined the department in December of 2019. And so far, every single day has been totally different. I typically explain what I do as anything online, so blog posts, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any other social media channel, the website, and emails. So if you're getting an email with a reminder, that may be from me, but we also have a team who's working together to accomplish these outreach tools and these communications. And then I also do a lot with print material. So the law books is a project that I help put together, or I help manage.
And you also, I think another important thing is that you also kind of come up with the creative ways to communicate what our staff does.
Yeah, and so the messages are very, very diverse. So one day we may be talking about a neat project that a biologist is working on. And the next day we may be sending out safety messaging for warrant service. And the next day we may be sending information for landowner relations and how to be a good land user. Our content really varies, and I encourage you to follow us in all of our different channels because you never know what you're going to find. You may have a behind-the-scenes tour of a bear den visit on Instagram one day, and then in a couple months you may see someone feeding a moose at the Maine Wildlife Park. You may learn about a critical new law or a friendly reminder. You may learn about landowner access and tips on how to get landowner permission, or you may learn about some really cool projects that our biologists are doing with turtles, with fish, with moose, with bear, with birds, anything. Courtney is Maine's cheerleader. She doesn't try to hide her enthusiasm and love of her home state. She might be Maine's biggest fan. Courtney had so many stories she wanted to share with me, she brought a notepad filled with memories so she wouldn't forget any during the interview. Consider myself like a huge fan of Maine. I love Maine. I've always lived here. And I love that we have 4 seasons. So each season brings a whole bunch of new things to do. And I think that's why I love here is each season is so unique. So in the winter, you'll find me ice fishing as much as possible. And I also like to downhill ski. And sometimes I go cross-country skiing. Sometimes I go snowshoeing. And I recently just started snowmobiling a lot. I used to snowmobile a lot growing up, but I would be a passenger, so on a 2-up snowmobile with my mom driving. But now I'm starting to drive my own snowmobile, and that's what we've been doing for some weekends, so that's been fun. The spring is kind of like my down season. I don't have a ton of activities in the spring, so honestly that's for house projects and getting things done that I don't do all winter because I'm working during the week and outside all weekend. But I just started to learn how to fly fish, so that's been fun.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I think that's going to be a while before I can really say that I know how to fly fish. There's definitely a ton to learn. And then in the summer, I really like spending time on lakes. We have a boat, and so we enjoy going water skiing and tubing, and I also like to go kayaking and hiking and camping. And then in the fall is when I spend a lot of time deer hunting.
Yeah, that's right. Courtney is an avid deer hunter. In addition to all the other outdoor activities she loves and juggling a job that goes way beyond 9 to 5, Courtney manages to find time to go hunting. Someone listening to this might just be surprised, maybe by the tone of your voice and by what you do for a living, that you are a hunter.
People are very, very surprised that I'm outdoorsy, and I think once people get to know me, then they're a little less surprised, and then they realize that I spend a lot of my free time outside.
In this season of Fishing Game Changers, I'm taking a closer look at some hunters and their first-time hunting experiences. When you close your eyes and imagine a hunter, I doubt the stereotype that comes to mind is blonde Courtney in the cute floral summer dress she wore to our interview. I'll be taking a closer look at the faces behind the camo and exploring their first steps into hunting, what hunting means for them, and how their experiences outside have changed them and have brought them closer to friends, family, nature, and their food source. Now, I have gone hunting all of once in my life, turkey, and I wasn't successful. So I'll be learning too about hunting and more importantly about what it means to be a hunter. Courtney grew up in an outdoorsy family. She was introduced and included in all outdoor activities from a young age. Sometimes this meant adapting the activities so it was a bit more kid-friendly.
Yeah, growing up we spent every single weekend outside, and it's kind of cool because I feel like I'm a great blend of being very outdoorsy, but I still have like a lot of stereotypical girly things. So even when we went ice fishing sometimes, I would bring my baby dolls and my Barbie dolls with me, and we had this really cool like cart thing that my mom would have like toys for me. So I'd be ice fishing, and I would actively have my own trap that my dad still uses today. It has a special pink flag for me. But I also had my babies and Barbie dolls there. So it's kind of funny. So it was like a nice blend. So even though I was outside, I would still be a kid and still have my toys with me. So my parents definitely like embedded that.
Throughout this series, you will hear from lifelong hunters like Courtney and less traditional hunters who didn't come from hunting families. For Courtney, hunting means time with family and memories with her dad and her grandfather who recently passed away. Talking about hunting recalls memories of celebratory meals shared with family around a table.
Yeah, so definitely in the fall, I end up talking to my family a lot more because we're planning out who's going to what tree stand. We spend a lot of time together. The first deer that is harvested, we always have a family meal, and we eat the tenderloin together, and that's always really special.
Courtney tells me the story of the first time she harvested a deer. She was just 10 years old, out with her father on Youth Day.
So my first hunt as the actual hunter with the firearm was when I was 10 years old. This was before the law changed that made it so you could hunt at any age. So I had hunted a lot before that just without a firearm. So scouting with my dad, sitting with him, spending time outside. But my first time hunting when I was 10 years old with a firearm, we went out that morning. We sat for a couple hours. I remember we had hot chocolate and we didn't see anything, but it was good. And then we came back and we warmed up a little bit. Then we went on the four-wheeler, again, looking for more sign, looking to see where we may want to set up another tree stand for the season, and just spending time together. And then we had lunch, and then we went back out for the afternoon. And we were sitting in the tree stand, and we had only been sitting there for like a half hour, and all of a sudden I started hearing the crunchy leaves. It was like step, 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 step. And my hearing as a 10-year-old was a lot better than my dad, who had been around a lot of loud noises and kind of had lost some of his hearing. So I could hear the deer a lot sooner than he could. So I nudged him and I said, "Deer are coming." And he probably thought I was thinking squirrels were there, because who doesn't mistake a squirrel for a deer? And all of a sudden, the steps got quicker and they got closer. And all of a sudden, an 8-point deer popped out of the tree line. And then he took another couple steps, and I couldn't get the gun I couldn't get the deer in my sight. I was too short because, again, I was 10, and I'm pretty sure I'm still only 5'2" when I'm full grown. So I had So I don't know how tall I was then, but I was very small. And where the deer came out, I actually had to sit on my dad's lap to shoot it in order to get the shot because I couldn't see it from where I was. I was not quite tall enough, and I wasn't at the right angle.
So you hopped into his lap to shoot down.
Yeah, so my dad always likes to tell that story, and I think it's really cool that I literally shot my first deer while sitting on my dad's lap in the tree stand. And the deer instantly fell over, so it was a really great, quick, clean, ethical kill, which made me feel good, especially for my first time harvesting an animal, that it didn't seem like it was very quick. I think that was a great first experience to have that. And so then we were super excited. My dad was definitely freaking out more than I was. This was my first day hunting. I didn't realize that it was never going to be that easy again. my first day hunting as the hunter, and I shoot an 8-point buck. Very lucky.
Set the bar high.
I wish I knew then how it would never be that easy again. It definitely has taken a lot more time and effort and energy to to harvest other deer since then. But that one was very awesome. And so we'd only been sitting for a half hour that afternoon, and so we went back to the house, and my mom was like, "Did you guys forget something? Why are you back so soon?" So she was pretty surprised when we said that I shot my first deer. And then my dad walked, I don't know, to get some supplies or whatever to do the next steps of the hunt, and my mom said, "Did you really shoot the deer?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "But Courtney, you need to know a lot of people aren't going to believe you that you shot this." And I didn't really understand why, because I could do a lot of different things. When you're 10 years old, you basically think you can do anything. I did gymnastics, I could do a backflip, I got good grades in school, I could play field hockey, I could do all these cool things. My grandfather, my uncle, and my dad always harvested a deer every year, so I didn't quite understand what my mom's warning meant. We brought it to the tagging station, we took pictures, it was very exciting. I told my grandfather, of course, and my uncle, and it was very exciting. And then I went to school on Monday, and people doubted me, especially the second day when I went back to school. I think I was in 4th grade then. After people or other hunters in my 4th grade class went and talked to their parents, they came back and they weren't quite sure if they believed me that I actually harvested the deer. So it was very weird to feel that people had so much doubt in my capability of doing that, and I didn't understand why. But my mom did warn me. She thought that may happen. So even at the age of 10, I kind of told myself, I said, I am going to do everything I can to make sure that future female hunters that people don't doubt them the same that they did me when I harvested my first deer.
10 years old is a pretty young age to declare a lifelong mission to change hearts and minds. But that doesn't surprise me. Courtney has a pretty go-get-'em attitude.
So I guess how I have tried to accomplish that is just by still hunting. I love hunting for hunting. I wouldn't just do it to prove someone wrong, but definitely just making sure that I'm setting a good example for female hunters and future female hunters, and being prepared. And I guess I definitely have seen the switch. So definitely when I was 10, people doubted me. Now that I'm older, when I go into the tagging station in my town, people ask me, "Oh, how's your hunting going?" And a lot of older men will ask me that question. And that's a really great feeling, because the 10-year-old girl that went in there, no one believed her. And now that I'm a woman, and I've hunted for 15 years, people actually believe me. And now they're coming to me asking me, "Oh, how's your hunting going? How's your dad's hunting going? What did you shoot this year?" Mm-hmm. And so that's been very exciting.
Courtney scans her notes and tells me some of her most precious memories connected to hunting. One memory reminds her of another memory, which reminds her of another story. Listening, I realize all the various complex layers, how hunting connects loved ones and changes how we see ourselves. As Courtney puts it, it's not about what you harvest. It's about the memories, what you learn, and the time spent outside.
You have a whole list. You can just rattle it off if you want to.
Is this going okay? I have another funny story. My family, we also process our own deer meat, and that is a lot of work. And that's another event that we do as a family and all together. And it's kind of funny because as we're packaging the meat, my dad will be like, "Let's cook this roast for ice fishing when we fish this lake, and we'll cook it all day in the crock pot." And then on the actual package of meat, we'll say, "Ice fishing trip." So we know that we're going to eat it in the winter. I don't know if other families do that, but we definitely do as we're cutting up our meat.
You have a plan for it. It has a destiny.
But it's pretty cool seeing how the different seasons do connect. So we're eating our deer meat all week after we go ice fishing. We eat all of our deer meat. We love deer meat. And another, I guess, funny story that both of my parents still make fun of me for is one time we were processing my dad's deer. This was before I was 10, and I was just learning how to write. So my job that year was to label all of the deer meat. And I labeled all of the tenderloin and all of the sirloin as tenderloin and sirloin.
This is like, you're a comedian and your set list of jokes.
are all gonna fall. Just keep talking. So a few years ago, my 80-year-old grandfather had a moose permit. And so on that hunt, it was my grandfather, my dad, his twin, myself, and my fiance. And so that was super memorable, just spending so much time all together. And that spring, my grandfather ended up passing away. And it was really, obviously, we were very sad. All of us were very close to my grandfather. But it was pretty cool that we had that last fall together, and such an awesome memory that I'm always going to remember. It was a super happy and positive memory, and that's how I can remember my last year with my grandfather, was harvesting a big bull moose. And it's really cool just to remember my different memories with my grandfather, different hunts we had together, the deer we saw, and then just remembering some of the things he talked to me about. And I remember as I was hunting with my grandfather in those spots, sometimes I would get a little annoyed because he was hard of hearing and he wanted to talk to me sometimes while we were hunting. And I was like, we're never going to get a deer when I have to talk to my grandfather who can't hear me, so I have to talk really loud and the deer aren't going to come. And it was kind of frustrating because I was like, oh, I'm never going to get a deer. But I actually did one time while I was hunting with my grandfather, and that was very special to have harvested an animal with him. We saw deer sometimes, but that was the only time I actually harvested one with him sitting with me. So that's a really great memory. We used to always have Reese's peanut butter cups, and he'd bring a couple Reese's peanut butter cups. And it was really fun and special. And sometimes, as he got older, it was harder for him to sit as long. So he'd join me after I'd been there for a couple hours. And I'd be like, oh, great. It's the last hour of legal shooting time. And here my grandfather comes scaring away all the deer. But it's definitely worth it because it's not always about what you harvest. It's about the memories, what you learn, the time spent outside.
Going back to Courtney's mission of removing the doubt, the question, the second guessing about women who hunt, I'm interested in what advice she has for women who hunt, and what advice she has for women, or anyone for that matter, interested in hunting or curious about hunting but are nervous, apprehensive, or unsure. And I get it. It takes a lot of time, energy, and frankly guts to go out and hunt. Now that Courtney is an adult, she's hunting alone, but she's learned along the way. Ask questions, make accommodations, and stand up for yourself.
My number one advice, and I think my dad would say the same thing, is just to make sure that they're comfortable and you're comfortable with your weapon. You don't need to go for the highest caliber gun. You need to go for something that you're confident in and that you're accurate in and you have practice with it. I think people assume that they may need a higher caliber gun and then that's the answer. But if it starts to make you so you jump or you're scared of it and you're not comfortable and you're not confident, your hunting is not going to be enjoyable. When I was hunting with a gun that was too big for me, I was miserable and I wasn't confident and it was not fun. Another thing that I would give, or another piece of advice I would give to females, is to not be scared and just go and enjoy yourself and just be prepared, wear the right clothes, make sure you're warm, bring snacks, and just enjoy yourself. And if something's hard or you need help, because I am short, I'm only 5'2", sometimes my dad forgets that I'm only 5'2" and expects me to be able to pick something up to a certain height. And I'm like, I'm not tall enough to do that. And so sometimes you have to remind the people you're with, I'm not as tall as you, or I might not be able to lift that, so let's do this strategy, or let's get this tool so we can do that together. And you just have to be comfortable saying, we need to find a different way to do that. So just stick up for yourself and remind people that you may need to do something a different way, but you can still do it. So one time we were bobcat hunting and we needed to go into the woods, and so we had to snowshoe in because there was quite a bit of snow. It was in the middle of February in northern Maine, and some of the people on the hunt I had never met before, so they didn't know I grew up outside. They didn't know that I could hold my own. And I don't really think I need to prove myself to anyone, but they definitely weren't expecting me to be able to do that. And you just have to go for it and know you can do it. And so at one point, when we were about to go into the woods, one of the men picked up my snowshoes out of the truck and laughed at them. And then he said, "The girl's going in the woods?" So I put them on and I went into the woods and I was fine and it was great. And I think he was surprised. And you just have to be willing to just go for it, just do it. People may be surprised, but but that shouldn't stop you. And your equipment may look a little different. You may need to do things differently. With me being shorter, sometimes I need to do things differently. It may be harder for me to get my deer into the truck. I may need to use ropes, whereas someone else maybe will just pick it up. You may need different strategies, but you just have to make it work. And if you do need to do something differently, just say it. They may forget that you're shorter, or you may not be able to do something. It doesn't mean you can't do it. I don't want to say like you can't do it, but you may need to take a different approach to get the same thing done. Yeah, I think since growing up, my parents were both dedicated so much time to enjoying life and exploring and spending time outside. It was definitely something I was raised to learn. You need to have fun on the weekends. You need to have fun on your days off. You need to make the most of your time. My mom and dad are both extremely hard workers, so they both worked a lot, but when it was not working time, it was time to have fun. And if your house isn't as clean as you want it to, or it's not as clean as your neighbor, who cares? In the summer, my house gets dirty. In the winter, especially ice fishing, like doing laundry is kind of hard because there's no time on the weekend to do laundry. And after ice fishing all day long, the last thing you want to do is you want to take a nap. You want to take a nap, or you want to eat good food, or I want to snuggle my dog. I do not want to clean my house. And so my house isn't gross, but it definitely is not super organized, and I don't care. Is that bad?
Okay, so I learned that Courtney doesn't really clean her house, but she does somehow manage to balance her outdoor pursuits with having a social life. After a full day of hunting and harvesting a deer, she manages to do her hair and makeup and meet up with girlfriends. This superhero move even surprises Courtney's friends.
I took a Friday off and to go hunting, and it was raining that day, but I had a little umbrella over my tree stand, and I got to my tree stand at 12:30, so I was going to sit there for like 4 hours, and 2 hours in, I harvested my deer for the year, and immediately I found it, and then we tagged it, and we started hanging it up and gutting it, and then I ran home and I showered, and I had dinner reservations with a bunch of friends at a Mexican restaurant, and then I ordered a margarita and 8 tacos, and then we went to a comedy show.
Wait, did you eat 8 tacos, or you ate tacos?
I ate tacos.
8 tacos seems like a lot.
I ate 2 tacos. Maybe it was a chimichanga. I don't remember. But I remember walking into the restaurant, and you definitely would have no idea that I just shot a deer, hauled it out the ways, then tied it up to a 4-wheeler and dragged it out of the woods and did the field dressing and tagged it. You would have no idea, other than I was kind of tired. And I remember walking, I had my hair done and my makeup done, and my friends were like, wow, Courtney's a badass. And that felt pretty good. What's going to be my title? Barbie's and Badass.
Hunting for Courtney has given her the opportunity to see wildlife and foster a deep appreciation for the outdoors. Courtney's new job with the department has given her a whole new outlook on outdoor resources and a new appreciation for wildlife management.
I think the other really neat thing about hunting is you spend so much time outside that you see really cool things. I see owls all the time when I'm deer hunting, and that is so cool. I can't tell you another time that I've seen an owl when I'm in my backyard or hiking or kayaking, but I spend a lot of time looking at owls while I'm hunting deer, which is really, really neat. And I've also seen a lot of bear while scouting for moose, and that's really cool to just see wildlife in their natural habitat without them knowing you're really there. And I would never see those things if I didn't spend so much time because of hunting. And it's been really neat to see what goes into conserving these resources. You know, as an avid outdoor enthusiast, I knew we were lucky to have so many resources. I had no idea the amount of work that goes into keeping a fishery healthy, or what goes into regulating the hunting seasons. I did not have an appreciation for how much work went into it. So it's super cool to be on this side, and I'm excited to keep continuing to share these stories and informing more people about the great work that the department does.
So you grew up doing this, and you're really passionate about it now in your spare time. So is working the job that you work now for the department, was this your dream job?
Yes. So when I decided I was going to go to college for marketing and communications, my goal was to work in the outdoor industry. So maybe like a ski resort or maybe LL Bean or some sort of outdoor position, or with small businesses. And so when this job opened up, I was super excited because what better than to help with marketing and communications for the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. I did feel like it was a dream come true. Some days I still am like, I can't believe this is my job, and I can't believe I've had the opportunity to do that. So it's super exciting. The outdoor recreation and tourism industry especially is a whole bunch of small businesses. Registered marine guides are small businesses. Lodges are small businesses. The cute little restaurant you go to after your hunt or while you're snowmobiling is a small business owned by a local family who may have lived there for generations. So it's a great blend of supporting small businesses, means economy, and also getting more people outside to enjoy the same things that I've enjoyed my entire life.
In next week's episode, I sit down with the commissioner of our department, Judy Camuso. To stay up to date with current episodes, hit subscribe on your favorite listening app. To learn more about this series, visit mefishwildlife.com/changers.